Hello everyone, it's Monday, so it is Biz or Life Wisdom as the theme day in our group. So of course it's my day for be doing a Facebook Live. I hope you've all had a wonderful weekend and a great start to this new week. What I wanted to talk about tonight, or as in it's early evening here in Melbourne, 6:30, is how we can do, inverted commas, life and business when we're introverts. And I think it's a fascinating topic, and that's because I'm an introvert. So probably if I was in the majority, which extroverts are, something like 70% of people are extroverts and only 30% of us are introverts. So it often is the case, isn't it, that when someone is a member of the minority, then they have a particular interest in what that particular minority is. So for me, it's introversion. That's one of my interests, and how that means that I play in the world and in business specifically, because it's had a really profound effect on the way that the way I've been in business and the way that I'm moving towards, and certainly in life, as well as I've got a bit older and able to understand why I do things, why I think things, why I am the way that I am. So just to tell you a little bit about what extroversion and introversion are and how they compare. Extroverted people energize who are extroverts with other people. So they actually need that, enjoy that time where they start to feel really excited, up, on, whatever words you want to use, and really invigorated by it. And that actually maintains their energy levels for quite a while. Whereas introverts, such as me, we find that it's actually almost the opposite. I mean, this is a continuum. So there's going to be, differences between individuals, even if you class yourself as an introvert or an extrovert. But generally speaking, introverts actually are drained by spending a lot of time with a lot of other people, as in bigger groups in particular. Maybe one-on-one is okay, or small groups, but great big events with lots of people can be really draining. And of course, there's also the more recent term of ambivert that's become more common, where somebody is, a little bit introverted, a little bit extroverted. And I think I'm actually probably in that sort of middle of the road. I definitely enjoy large groups, and that's not to say that introverts don't at all. But I'm pretty social, so I'm probably more on the extroverted side of introversion, if that makes sense. And I can do it for quite a decent amount of time. But I go home and I'm like, I'm usually pretty drained and exhausted, and I need that time to recharge, because that's what introverts do. They need to build their energy, regain their energy by being on their own, having time, or as I said, just in a very small group, maybe with a few family members or close friends or whatever. And it's just a really interesting way of viewing how that then influences the way that we are in the world. As I, was talking about with business and in life, I found I've worked with this in my life pretty well, but I can remember when I was married, my ex-husband is very extroverted, and it actually worked out quite well, because he would actually go out a bit and I'd be happy to be at home. The kids were younger then, so it's not like we were going out till late at night and that sort of thing anyway. And it meant that they'd go to bed and I'd have a little bit of my time, and he'd have his social or extroversion needs being met. And, largely that worked quite well for a number of years. Since being, divorced on my own now, I've had to learn to actually be okay to be on my own a lot, living on my own as my kids have become adults. And that's been a really interesting process, but I've actually become really comfortable with it, to the point where I can see, being introverted, how I'm able to, as I said, renew my energy, to be able to have the mental processing that introverts tend to have. We seem to like some time where we've got to analyze things and as I said, process, and we can do that best when we are in usually pretty quiet place. Doesn't always have to be, but quite often, and as I said, by ourselves or just with one or two people only. Now in business, that's had a huge effect on me, because I was pretty social, working in my corporate world. But I realise now, looking back, a lot of it was because I got to know the people I was working with and vice versa. So I was comfortable and it was quite okay. But then, of course, I started my business and it was like, whoa, wow, there's millions of business people out there and I've got to go to all these networking events and be really chatty and on, what I call on, as in, like I am in a way, like I am now, even with this Facebook Live. And yes, that was fun. Don't get me wrong. I really enjoy that part of it. But as I said, I would come home and I'd be really, really drained. And sometimes it could take a good couple of hours to actually rebuild, the energy. Sometimes even, it needs the next day. It depends. If it's like a conference or a multi-day event, then that makes it even longer, that I find that I need to be able to recoup my energies. So what I've found, like last year, for instance, I wanted to go to a lot of meetups and other live events, which was great. I got to meet some amazing people, form some wonderful friendships, learn a whole lot of stuff in terms of content, and was really inspired and was just, absolutely wonderful to be able to do it. But I found that by the end of last year, I was pretty exhausted, and that was one of the things I found. Was there were some weeks where I was going out 3 nights of the week, and looking back, it was actually, it was pretty tiring. It was fun, but it was tiring. And sometimes in the next day, particularly if I'd gone 2 or 3 nights out in a row, then that 4th day I really noticed my energy levels and the impact that had. So going into this year as an introvert, I've decided to do things a little bit different and just sort of see how things go. And that's the main point I wanted to talk to you about. And that is that I think it's not that extroversion is wrong and introversion is right in my mind. Completely, that's not the case. It's whatever we are. It's what our makeup is. And whatever that is, what I really would love for you is that you work to your strengths, to know yourself really well. And that's something that I've done a lot over recent years, to really understand myself better, and having more time on my own has helped me to do that. So I can work out, this is the way that I work best. This is where I'm going to be able to progress my business more, or my friendships or relationships, or just general life experiences. So in terms of business, what I am wanting to do is restart my meetup. I'm actually going to be doing that next month, which is really exciting. But I'm probably going to be focusing it on being like little mini workshops and perhaps smaller numbers. It won't be great big, hordes of people. If they come and they want to come, that's great. But it's not my intention necessarily right at the start. And because one thing with introversion is we often, and this is the other thing, is I love working one-on-one with people and in terms of clients, and I think I do that really well. And a large part of that is because as introverts, we are, and this isn't to say extroverts aren't, but we really want to get to know the other person on perhaps even a more intimate level, and as in a deeper level of knowing. And introverts are particularly good at that in a, as I said, one-to-one or small environment. So that's what I definitely want to be continuing, is the one-on-one work with the clients. As I said, a smaller size meetup, and probably the case with workshops as well, and doing more videos, doing more online work. So the webinars and Facebook Lives, videos generally. So I am not necessarily needing to attend as many live events. I'll see how I go. It's only February. I see how the rest of the year pans out. But that's what I'm thinking that I would be best to do, at least for the next few months. The other thing I'm going to be doing more so, and this is something that appeals to a lot of introverts, is writing. Because of course you can do that by yourself, and I absolutely love doing that. I have held myself back from doing that in my business up until quite recently. A lot of fear of being vulnerable, being exposed. You know, I think probably a lot of you either can relate to that personally or have heard of others that have felt the same. So writing is something that I'm really wanting to be focusing on a lot more this year. So there's just a few examples of the way that you can be in business if you are an introvert or find that you have those sort of tendencies. And in terms of life, I think it is about, I made the reference to when I was married of allowing some separate time that was good for me. And it also, luckily my ex-husband was fine with that, because it met his needs to be going out and socialising with family members and friends in that respect. I certainly went a lot of the times, but he had more need for that, being more extroverted than me than what I did. So what you could be doing if you are an introvert and you're wanting to have a little bit more alone time is that negotiating, that discussing with loved ones, people that you spend a lot of time with generally, as to how much is okay for you with regards to the number of people that you see, the frequency, what it is that you do when you're with them, and that sort of thing. And if you do feel that you need plenty of alone time, to actually negotiate that. And that's part of that setting boundaries, which you may have picked up on is a really big theme for me and in my business with regards to productivity. And that's, as much managing ourselves as managing our time, which is something that I've said lots of times. So actually identifying how much time you need by yourself and being able to communicate that with the people around you. And one of the other things also that I do is make sure I have enough buffer time, whether it's personal life or business. So I don't always have things back to back all the time, because that's when I can feel quite drained as well. So I space them out a bit, so I've got a bit of a breather, a mini breather between them, and then I'm actually able to keep going pretty much the whole of the day. So that really does help me as well. So they're all things that I've learned over the last few years that I've been really focusing on this sort of thing. It's a work in progress. I'm going to be, as I said before, making the changes to my business model for this year. I'll see how it goes. If I think it needs adjusting, that's fine, I'll do that. But it's a matter, as I said before, of knowing yourself, being okay. Another big thing that I talk about is this self-acceptance. Part of me would love to be a raving extrovert, the life of the party for hours and hours, but I'm not. And that's just the way it is. And I love my alone time. I absolutely love it. I'm an avid reader. You've probably heard me talk about me releasing my creativity a lot more. So that allows me to be able to do that by myself, whether it be writing or painting. That sort of. I was playing piano for a little bit. I haven't done that for a while. That's a good reminder. Might start that up again. So I love being an introvert. I think that's the message. Love whoever you are with whatever strengths and, personality type or makeup that you have, because the world needs all of us. Definitely, equally. And I'm not for a second suggesting introverts are better than extroverts. And of course, that's not the same vice versa either. So I hope this gives you some food for thought. Please comment below any questions that you've got, anything you do want to make comment about. Are you an introvert, an extrovert, something in between? What's worked for you? What might be your challenges, either in life or business or both? And we can have a conversation about it. I'd love to be able to do that. So I will bid you good night and thank you for watching, whether it's the replay, and look forward to sharing with you in the group coming up soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.